asked earlier, but then I jumped to another question, so I'm going to come back to this one. I want to know what it's like behind the scenes of Timcast IRL, and how has it changed since you started? I've heard a little bit. Chris from the Quiet Part Pod, he's been on there twice now, so I've heard a little bit from him, but I want to know more from you.
I was thinking about this a couple days ago, actually, talking about getting like a 360, 360 cameras. You ever see one of those where you can watch, on YouTube, there's, if you can upload a video and have YouTube 360 cam. I want to do that in the room at the studio because I'm so familiar with it on the inside. I just looks like normal when I go in there, whenever we make show, TV or whatever, we'll just do it in a room somewhere. But to the outside person that's never seen it, and I've experienced this watching a show that I like a lot, and then I see the studio. I'm like, whoa, that's what it's like. I thought he was over there. Oh my gosh, he's been sitting there the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, he's taller than I thought. Like that kind of stuff. That's like, I think that's really good for the human brain to kind of flesh out beliefs, to challenge preconceptions. It's really healthy to see behind the curtain of your own beliefs. So I want to plop a 360 cam in there one day on the fifth chair and let the whole, just for one episode, and let everyone, if they want to come in and watch, and just, you can turn and put a headset on if you got one, and you can turn and look, or you can just move the camera back and forth and look at the other as people talk. That'd be very cool. That was my initial thought when you asked the question. What was the follow-up part of that question?
So the second half of that question, actually, before I ask the second half, I want to ask one thing, since I have the opportunity. I need to know. How tall is Phil?
I think he's 5'6". Or 5'5".
Okay, so he's not shorter than me. That's all I needed to know. Because what's it called, Chris, like I said, the Quiet Part Pod, he was telling me that Chris, how short Chris was, or how short Phil was, and I was like, there's no way Phil is shorter than me. I'm like 5'5", 5'6", because like you were just saying, that my perspective of Phil is that he was probably like 6 foot or maybe a little bit less.
He seems huge.
He seems like a huge guy on camera, but then I've heard now from you and other people that he is not, and it blows my mind a little bit.
He's a massive presence. When he's there, I don't think of him as short when I'm looking at him, just because he's kind of a big guy. But
right.
But yeah, it's like 5'5" or 5'6", I guess. 5'6",
well, I just wanted to ask, since you've seen him a lot more than anyone. But so the second half of that question is, how do you feel Timcast IRL, or just Tim in general, has changed since you started on the show?
Oh, it's so much better. I think we listen to each other a lot more now. In the early days, it was like, for me, it was like jamming. I thought of it as me and Tim are going to do a show, or I'm going to join the show. Him and Adam were doing it, and then you got a new It's kind of like a different show with different people on it. So it was on the same channel, Timcast IRL, but when I joined, it kind of became a new show that me and Tim were doing instead of Tim and Adam show. And it was like, I treated it as a jam session where he would be talking, and I would just come in and talk and argue and like just feed it, and it was chaos. It was a kind of messy, and I think we never really talked about it, but I was like, we're just in a band jamming with our words. And I realized over time that he wanted more to be the orchestra leader, the orchestrator, and I was like first trumpet. So instead of it being a jam session where we're equals, he's like in charge, he's in control of the room, and I'm the most effective, first chair. And so I started once I started doing that, things got real smooth. A lot about enjoying his orchestration, supporting the flow, less about trying to get my thoughts and ideas in, more about being part of a great experience.
And that definitely ties into what we were talking about earlier. I guess a follow-up to that would be, and I doubt you have an actual answer for this, but I'll ask just out of curiosity. Is there anything that you personally would want to see different about the show?
I want to interview more video game developers and like cultural heroes on IRL because it's such a huge platform. But that's kind of a debate between Tim and I. Like, Tim's generally his response would be like, it's a politics show. We'll have him on the Culture War, is usually what he does. Culture War is big, gets 100,000 views, 50 to 300. It gets a lot of views. It's a big show, Friday morning show.
Getting bigger too. It's a little newer than his IRL.
And so back in the day when I'd be like, we should have cultural icon on, he'd be like, yeah, on Culture War. But I'm still, I like just shoehorning in people that need to be heard, that aren't necessarily, you wouldn't think of them as right for the format. Fuck that. Fuck the format. Fuck the rules. I want to bring the best and show the world. So that I want to have Sam Hyde on. Never going to happen. No, I don't think I would love to have Sam on there one, but like chaos, it's a little more balanced. Like I used to be a little more flippant about introducing chaos into the show, but it's a very strong, organized, structured environment. So fucking with it isn't necessarily the best, but I would like to have like musicians like Billy Corgan. I want to get the prolific visionaries on too, in addition to politics. I don't know. Maybe it's better that it's segmented. He's good at marketing his stuff. He knows how to do it.
Well, I think the perfect segue for that is to follow up with this question. If you could have any guest on Timcast IRL, someone who's never been on before, who would that be, and what would you want to talk to them about? It could be a guest that they've had on, but you weren't on the episode. That I'll let that count.
I guess Jim Tour. He's a graphene scientist out of Rice University. He's great. I did an interview with him on my channel. We did it to our different channels. He's but I want to have him on with like the Defense Department, like the head of our Department of Defense. Or the thing is, I wouldn't want to necessarily have that conversation in public. It's like a high tech conversation about energy production and like revamping our electrical grid. I don't know if IRL is necessarily the format for that. Jim is great though. James Tour, if you look him up and you like graphene, he's like probably the best.
And he's never been on Timcast?
No, we were looking at having him on, but it didn't really fit the format, and travel was tough for him at the time, so it just shuttered that one episode. So we've done remote. He'd be a good one.
Have you done a one-on-one with him?
Yeah,
on your channel.
Yeah, virtually. We weren't in the same room together. Virtually, he's a cool interview. He's very smart. He's also religious, which was interesting because he's a chemist, but he's like, and I'll prove to you that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. I'm like, homie, you're a scientist. What are you doing? That's like magic. But he's a cool dude. So Jim, I think I'd put him at the top. And then other than that, Eddie Vedder. I mean, I just don't think IRL is the format for interviewing all these musicians that I love so much.
I think that would be a really good guest. I'm gonna have to go watch the episode you had with him on your channel. I haven't seen that episode.
Yeah, it's my first interview on the Ian Crossland Live on my Ian Crossland YouTube channel.
Okay,
on that playlist.
I'm definitely gonna check it out. I'll probably check it out right after this then. So you said you'd only give me an hour. We've now gone hour and 35. I really appreciate it. I have just two more questions if I could ask them.
Yeah, sure, man.
So I have a question. The last two questions I'll ask are the questions that were given to me from some of the members of the community. Well, I already asked you a few, but these are the remaining ones I have. So Chris from the Quiet Part Pod, he asked, even before the election, you were critical of Trump for a variety of reasons, and yet you still managed to cast your ballot for him. While anyone who has followed you on Timcast knows that this is something you wrestled with in the lead up to November, given how things have been going over the last 45 days, how do you feel about that choice? And do you think it would have gone any better with Kamala, or is Trump as good as it was going to get?
Oh, he was as good as it was going to get. That's my thought. I don't regret any of it. No, he was by far the least worst choice. And secretly, I'd been planning on voting for him for a long time before that, but I was not going to play that card in public. And you never know if a great candidate had arisen, like if RFK got the Democratic nod, and I would have voted for RFK probably over.
You would have gone RFK over
yeah,
Trump?
he was the only guy I would have voted over Trump was RFK, the only contender. And when he was like Trump, it became very clear. And I did seem like I kind of not really jumped on a bandwagon, but people were like, Ian, why won't you do it? Why won't you say it? Why won't you do it? Why won't you say it? And I'm like, hey man, November 5th is when I'll say it. No, I don't regret any of it, man. He was definitely the one most willing to speak the truth. But the thing is, you get into that position and you're bound by secrecy. The president, like George Washington, was a great keeper of secrets. He knew how to trick people. He would send in the military, especially when you're the commander of the military. You need to know how to to trick people, how to mislead them and get them to believe one thing while you're doing another. Then you got to wrestle with, how do I treat my domestic populace? Because obviously you want the leaders of the Iranian, caliphate to not see it coming. So you got to tell some lies here and there. I get that. But then when you're talking to your own people, but then it's like, well, it's on the internet. So yeah, he's telling us who's Epstein anyway. I never heard of him, but it's not like he's just telling the American people that. He's telling the whole world. So everything that's being said is to everyone. You can't really just get a message just to your population. So he's kind of in a rock and a hard place about how honest to be about this stuff. I still, by far, would rather have him in there than the totalitarian. The tech Kamala, I didn't like her much. I mean, I'm not a big fan of her politically at all. I felt like she was kind of just put in there because she was black, and then and a woman of color. They kept saying that.
It was the DEI hire.
But it was the way, it was DEI, but the way they just selected her as the candidate. They didn't have a primary. That I would not vote for that. I didn't vote for I voted against the process. I won't vote for imperialist selections of candidates. I don't care who the guy was.
Yeah, nor should you. Like if Trump was installed in a similar manner, I would have been outspoken completely against it. Maybe even not even voted.
Yeah, exactly.
So just the sheer fact that the Democrats just had no issue with it was astounding. And some of them questioned it. They were just like, "Oh yeah, she got nominated."
And some of them did. When I pointed it out to people, they were like, "Oh." I was like, I'm not voting. They kept saying we got to protect our democracy, that he's a threat to democracy, and then they threatened our democracy by installing a candidate. And I told my parents that, and they were both like, "Shit,
yeah,
fuck."
But no, I completely agree. I'm of the same view of Tim. You look at the past, presidents we've had in the past generation or two, and all of them have like an F rating for their grade. But then Trump comes along and he's got like a D+, C-, not great, but way better than the other ones still.
And the people he put in with him, RFK, the way that Maha is getting like fucking plastic out of our soda supply, like our food supply has been liquidated, has been revolutionary. The way, and a lot of these companies are changing their ingredients without even being forced to. Like they see it coming. They're just getting ahead of the curve. They're taking dyes out of their foods, taking azo dyes, stuff that's being so that criticize Trump for the things that he does and says as well, but the people that he's surrounded himself with are fucking top notch. And Tulsi Gabbard, I'm a huge fan of Tulsi Gabbard. I might have voted for her actually if she'd been selected as the Democratic candidate too. I followed her work for about a decade. And Cash, I love that guy. I mean, I trust him as much as I can. I trust him face to face, but I know he's supposed to be in there lying. The head of the FBI or secret police force. You can't just tell everyone everything.
Yeah, and anyway. I know you've met Cash personally. I mean,
multiple times. Yeah, he's great.
So I'm sure it's hard with this situation to question him because you've sat across from him and you've talked to the guy. Do you think he's lying in this situation, or if he is lying, is it because he has to?
Yes. Yeah. It's like watching your friends go into Mount Doom. It's like you watching your friends when they get into that politic thing. They go into that White House. You're watching them go into this place, and it's like, I'll see you when I see you, man.
Yeah.
You're one of the best. So I hope you can make it out. There's a lot and then they go in, and it's like, they're going to be different people when they come out of there. That was something that Vivek Ramaswamy said. He's like, I know I'll be a different person after I'm the president, but that's just the way it goes. It changes you. And I don't want to be too hard on these people trying to do damage control, sail us through this hail of glaciers that we're smashing into as we travel, and they're trying to make sure we don't sink.